Good evening, residents of Everett, Washington. I'd like to call to order the Everett City Council meeting of September 7th, 2022, and welcome everyone to the City Council chambers. The Council is conducting our weekly meeting in a hybrid mode. This will allow us to reach members of our community who wish to participate via Zoom or those who wish to attend in person. It is our hope to continue this format to be as accessible as possible to our community. For those who wish to participate in a future Zoom meeting, you may find the public comment registration form on the City of Everett website under the City Council Department. Once you click on the register here to provide comment via Zoom link, you'll come to a form that you need to fill out completely if you wish to provide a public comment at a future meeting. After the form is submitted, you'll receive an email confirmation with the Zoom link and the phone number to the meeting, and participants must submit this form at least 30 minutes prior to the meeting. Forms submitted after that time will not receive the Zoom link and number to speak, but may still participate the day of the meeting by coming in person to the council chambers. Please note, we do not allow comments on any kind of campaigning, whether for or against ballot measures or candidates running for office. We also do not accept comments focused on personal matters that are unrelated to city business. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mayor Franklin.
Here.
Councilmember Fossey.
Here.
Councilmember Zarlingo.
Here.
Councilmember Vogely.
Here.
Councilmember Schwab.
Excused?
Vice President Toohey.
Here.
Councilmember Ryan.
Here.
President Stonecipher.
Here, and I'd like to ask Councilmember Zarlingo to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I would like to ask Councilmember Fossey, would you please read the land acknowledgement this evening?
The City Council wishes to acknowledge the original inhabitants of this place, the Shtahob's people and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered on, and taken care of these lands and waters. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. We strive to be honest about our past mistakes and bring about a future that includes their people, stories, and voices to form a more just and equitable society.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion for the approval of the minutes of August 31st, 2022?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Fossey.
Abstain?
Councilmember Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes.
Vice President Toohey.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
President Stonecipher.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor Franklin.
Yeah, good evening. I have no comments this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Angie, do we have anyone signed up to speak this evening for public comment?
We do, but first, we do have one written comment from Corey Childs, and I provided this to council, administration, and to the clerk to be part of the record. We have one person here wishing to speak on item 3, and I'd like to call Jane up to the podium. And if you could please state your full name and city of residence, and please remember to limit your comments to 3 minutes, and I'll remind you when you have 30 seconds left.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Mayor Franklin and our city council people. My name is Jane McClure. I'm the current chair of the Bayside Neighborhood Association. And this is all good news. So I want to thank you on behalf of the Bayside Neighborhood Association. I cannot explain how thrilled we are that the Clark Park gazebo has been prioritized for improvements, and that among the myriad projects that you have to deal with in the city of Everett, that this little undertaking has floated a little higher to the top. And I've got records going back seriously over 20 years in the Bayside neighborhood of efforts, and so we're just beyond words. So at the appropriate times, as this gazebo project moves forward, the Bayside Neighborhood Association suggests that the following become a part of the considerations if it works out. One is that we're hopeful that the Bayside Bayside residents will have an opportunity to comment and to provide any ideas they have on gazebo usage, how it could best be utilized for local residents, as well as making the gazebo a visual centerpiece to Clark Park. Secondly, that provisions to be considered for the addition of sound and lighting to the gazebo for evening and what might be acoustical performances, something like that. It is a residential area. We don't believe that, you know, it would be a rock music venue, but something that provides some lighting and things for some of our residents who were in the choir from the Bible Way Baptist Church. The lighting was so horrible for them that none of the pictures that we took at our caroling last year ever registered their faces. And I felt a little badly about that, and I wanted to bring that forward. And then the last one is to potentially involve the Cultural Arts Commission in helping to make the gazebo upgrades about an artistic as well as a functional facility outcome. So I want to thank you, and if you have any specific questions for me, I would be happy to field them. Other than
I'll
that,
just
thank you. A
say,
pleasure to
Jane,
meet you. Sorry I missed you at National Night Out.
Jane, I too have been talking about this gazebo for almost 20 years. So I share your enthusiasm for having this on the agenda so we can get some ideas for how to move forward. And I love your ideas, and we should take those into consideration.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
And that's all that we have tonight.
Very good, thank you. We'll move on to council comments and liaison reports. We're starting with Councilmember Fosse.
Thanks. Thank you for your delightful public comments today, Jane. There is going to be an opportunity for them to be able to participate and provide input. I see the nod of yes, so that's wonderful. I don't have too many comments. I did miss Councilmember Ryan's birthday last week, so happy birthday to Councilmember Ryan, as well as my husband, who shares a birthday with Councilmember Ryan. So happy birthday, and I hope everyone had a wonderful and relaxing Labor Day. That's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Zarzingo.
Nothing for me tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Vogely.
Good evening, everybody. And Jane, thanks for bringing that up and being the chair of the Bayside neighborhood reminds me of MJ Donovan Kramer. So I wonder if we can work her name into that somehow. May she rest in peace. And since I am the chair of the Parks and Quality of Life I'm sure we will. I know that Mayor already said, of course there will be input, but yes, of course there will be input. So we'll bring it up at the next meeting with Bob. And that's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Council Vice President Tui.
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of reminders. The Public Safety Committee will be meeting on September 14th, next Wednesday at 5 o'clock. After the audio challenges with the virtual briefing to the full council a couple weeks ago on the police study, we've decided that it makes more sense for Matrix to conduct that review with the Public Safety Committee via Teams. And then the final assessment will be done in person at council in October. So we will meet next week. And also the Housing and Homelessness Committee will be meeting also on September 14th at 10:30 in the morning. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Ryan.
Good evening, everybody. Yesterday I attended the Parks Board meeting, and it was a great discussion to talk about preserving and protecting our urban tree canopy. So looking forward to some stuff coming down the pike for that. Happy first day of school to our Everett Public School systems, and a friendly reminder to slow down around schools and watch out for pedestrians and I don't know, maybe just slow down in general, I guess, and watch out for pedestrians and other folks on the road. And I also wanted to share that Everett Public Library has some sweet merch going on. So you can go to epls.org/merch and get your own Everett merchandise, and proceeds from the sales go to support Friends of the Library. So always a great cause. And thank you, Councilmember Fossey, for the birthday shout out, and I look forward to returning the favor in a week or so, and something special might happen.
Thank you. And I don't have any updates. I just wanted to make a comment that our wonderful council administrative coordinator has been doing a great job for us, Angela. Appreciate all your work, and we are at the moment of her time with us that we're starting to investigate paperless options for the council agenda and materials. We've done a little early work. Angie and administration have been meeting with the IT folks to see what kind of tools they have available. They're investigating other cities and counties that are doing paperless materials for their council meetings. And so if you have any if you have good model cities or model, if you have programs or any information that you want to share with Angie, please let her know. We've identified at least a couple cities that she's going to investigate, but we're hoping that we would move this forward through this fall and kind of figure out how we might be able to make this work. And if not before, we'll hit the ground running hopefully in January. So it's going to require some changes on our part as well. So just start talking through things. You're like, oh, wait a minute, I kind of like that piece of paper. So we're all going to have to be open to how we can modify our own behaviors. So it's exciting for us. Do we have an administrative update this evening?
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Thank you. We have Flora Diaz as our sitting city attorney. Do you have anything for us this evening, Flora?
Thank you. No comment and no executive session.
Thank you. We have 4 consent items, and the comment on item 3 has been noted. Do we have a motion to approve the 4 consent items?
Vogely so moves the 4 consent items on tonight's agenda.
Councilmember Ryan seconds.
We have a motion and a second. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Fossey,
Yes.
Councilmember Zarlingo,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely,
Yes.
Vice President Tui,
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan,
Yes.
President Stonecipher.
Yes. We have 2 public hearing items that are on tonight. I think we have to reopen the public hearings since we continued it from prior week. And I will read the items one at a time, and then we'll talk about them both at the same time because they are related. Item 5 is Council Bill 2207-35, adopt an ordinance amending the Everett Municipal Code to bring it into conformity with recently enacted changes in state housing laws, amending EMC chapters 15.02 land use and review and project review procedures, 19.04 definitions, 19.05 uses, 19.08 residential uses and development standards, 19.13 specific use standards, and 19.34 parking, loading, and access requirements. Third and final reading on this item and public hearing is expected to be next week on the 14th. Item 6 is Council Bill 2207-36, adopt an ordinance amending the Everett Municipal Code to bring it into conformity with recently enacted changes in state housing laws related to removing limits on number of residents in a dwelling, amending EMC chapters 19.04 definitions, 19.05 uses, 19.08 residential uses and development standards, and 19.34 parking, loading, and access requirements. Again, third and final reading and public hearing will be next Wednesday, the 14th of September. So we'll open the public hearing, and we have Yorick Stevens-Wajda here to provide an update based on some questions that we posed in prior meetings.
That's it. Thank you, Council President Stonecipher. Good evening, Council. I'm Yorick Stevens-Wajda, Planning Director. I'll skip a overview and recap of the ordinance today. We can give one for the public next week for the final public hearing and potential action by the Council. I will turn your attention to one change, one new provision in the ordinance. This is the first one on your agenda, the one about homeless shelters and housing. After some discussions with Councilmembers Zarlingo and Schwab last week, who had some questions about how services might interact with shelters in future developments in the city, there was a proposal that seemed reasonable to staff and to Mayor Franklin to add a new subsection 9 on page 12 of the ordinance. And it would read, social services provided as part of an indoor emergency shelter, outdoor emergency shelter, or emergency housing facility are assumed to be provided only for residents of the facility. If social services will be provided on-site to non-residents, the use must be reviewed and separately permitted under the appropriate approval process defined in Chapter 19.05 EMC. We don't see this as a major substantive change. It's more like a reminder and a clarification, which is always good for transparency and for folks to understand what the rules are going to be. In general, the social services would continue to follow the permitted administrative use and prohibited and the special regulations that are in the use matrix on there. Same thing for emergency shelters and housing. So that's the one addition on this list of changes that's in your packet. You'll see the other two that I think I covered in the last meeting. And that's it. So I'm available for any questions. Otherwise, I'll give a little bit more of a recap next week for anybody who might be tuning in.
Thank you. Let's go down the roll and see, does anyone have any questions? Councilmember Zarlingo? No. Okay. Councilmember Vogely?
I have no questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Toohey? No. Yes. Councilmember Ryan?
I was reviewing the maps, which were awesome, by the way. Thanks for providing those. And I wish I had it in front of me, but if I remember correctly, one of the maps provided showed where emergency shelters would and wouldn't be used. And I noticed that Everett Parks didn't have they were just white. So there wasn't a color of if it was or wasn't allowed. So I was wondering, I'm thinking like if there's smoke shelter that needs to go up or something, some sort of like tenting situation, could a park be used for that or what? Where does the park's designation fall in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, what a way to dodge that question by leaving it blank on the map. That's why we put the draft logo on it. We are working on some clarifications to the social services map, especially, which was particularly complicated. So you'll see a new version of that before next week's meeting. I think in general, in the park and open space zone, development is not permitted except for city parks. So in general, it would not be used for shelters and such. I will confirm that and cite specific language.
Okay, thanks.
That's all. Okay, and I have no questions. So we'll just make sure we don't have any public comment here. Angie, do we have anyone signed up to speak on item 5?
No, we do not.
Okay, and I don't see anyone from the public here, so I'm assuming no one wants to speak on item 5. Do we have anyone signed up to speak on item 6?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you. So I think we are then, if there are no other council comments or questions, then these are being scheduled for next Wednesday, and I think the public hearing will just continue to remain open until that time. Is that correct, City Attorney?
Yes.
Okay.
We're sort of sorry, yes. So we're basically having a 4th reading. It's fine to have extra readings.
Okay.
And so the public can continue to comment.
Okay, very good. So there's still time for the public to comment. And that brings us to the end of our agenda. So with no further business and no executive session, we are adjourned.